Hello all you happy people. Before we begin, this video is not for snowflakes. If you are a snowflake, then screw off. So it's October, spooky month. The FNAF movie is officially coming out this month, and I have mixed feelings on it, to say the least. Recently, I've been kind of disappointed with FNAF as a franchise. Security Breach sucked, FNAF AR shut down, every classic FNAF game is just, non-canon now? There's been like 20 books with confusing lore, Scott was canceled, that stuff. And the Ruin DLC?
What a sick joke!
The DLC releasing was kind of what truly set off my unbridled hatred of everything FNAF post-2018. The DLC was playable, sure, but it was a big, fat, dull, unscary, boring heap of trash, literally, and, in typical Steel Wool fashion, ruined everything about the past games. And for whatever reason, people are praising it like it's the second coming of Christ or something. But this upcoming movie has been a big beacon of hope for me this past year. FNAF is finally returning to its roots. No mimics, no horrifically underused antagonists, no sentient AI, no VR crap. Just a pure, simple, creepy story about haunted animatronics. And then the trailers came out. The animatronics were spot on when it came to looks. Sure, there were some inconsistencies with the designs. Chica's and Bonnie's eyes were the wrong colors and their hip pieces are really big. But still, they look great. The fuzz they have on their suits makes them look so much more appealing. The endoskeletons were unchanged, which honestly I'm kind of disappointed about. As we all know, FNAF's animatronic designs aren't exactly realistic, and same goes for the endo designs. I mean, just take a look at this thing and think about how impractical this is. How on earth does a suit go over this? Why does it have teeth? How can this thing even support a suit on it when it looks like a single gust of wind can knock it over? I was hoping they would change the endos in the movie to look a little more like the ones real-life animatronics have. Just to add that much more of a realistic quality to them, you know? You know what, we'll cover more of my thoughts on using the original endos later. The set pieces are really good. The casting is good, especially with freaking Shaggy as William Afton. That was... I, crapped a little when I found out about that. Also, this might just be me, but I think it's really weird how Vanessa is in this movie, considering she's pretty much the least relevant character in the FNAF lore right now. I mean, it took 2 games to set her up as the franchise's next big bad, only for her to show up 10 minutes in the game she was supposed to show up in, and then get redeemed in the true ending. And watch Matt Pat's video on that. She does indeed get, the true ending is indeed the Princess Quest thing. But with every good thing, a bad thing must come thereafter. And you already know the bad thing about the FNAF movie trailers that I'm talking about. The Red Eye debate. The Red Eyes debate absolutely rocked the FNAF community when they were first shown. Some people liked them, most hated them, and others didn't really care. What do I think about them? Well, I'll tell you what I thought about the Red Eyes. What I do think. They aren't very good. They're not faithful to the game, first off. None of the animatronics at any point in any game besides Help Wanted had bright red eyes. Second, they're cheesy. I mean, come on, Blumhouse, really? Wow, what a nice, subtle way to communicate to the audience that these are scary killer robots. Really smart to use the most oversaturated cliche involving robots in cinema. Yippee! And the red eyes aren't much better. Sure, they're less in your face, but they're still too on the nose. Their eyes don't look... I don't know, paranormal enough? These are supposed to be animatronics possessed with the souls of dead children, not casual killer robots from some 60s thriller. What the heck is wrong with going with the original blacked out eyes with the white pupils, huh? But McMoonball, they're probably being controlled by William Afton, just like in the book. Nuh-uh. That's wrong. You're wrong. Shut up. William Afton never controlled the animatronics in the books. He just dressed in a spring Bonnie suit to make them look like he was make them think he was one of them. I also don't like Golden Freddy having a blue eye. I mean, I also don't like Golden Freddy having a blue eye. I mean, come on. This is the same problem I have with the red eyes. Blue eyes are just not paranormal looking enough. It's too on the nose that Golden Freddy is a good guy, while also just not being very appealing to what we know of Golden Freddy's character and vibe in general. I know the blue eye is supposed to show that, oh look guys, he's friendly! But all I see is a stupid choice of design and a certain video game skeleton about to give me a bad time. But you know, the yellow eyes aren't that bad. The real problem is more with the animatronics' facial expressions. Throughout the trailers, you can see the animatronics move their eyebrows and eyelids in ways that convey that they're angry. And when somebody pointed this out, it really pissed me off. Let's get one thing straight. What makes the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's actually scary is something called the Uncanny Valley. Something that looks humanoid, looks alive, but you know isn't. This is what Scott Cawthon mastered in FNAF 1. These robots, these machines that aren't supposed to be alive are. But what made them even more scary was the fact that they still looked lifeless. Just look at their expressions in the first games. There was none. They just gave you these cold, lifeless stares. There was no emotion. There's no reasoning with whatever these things are. You don't know how they think, how they feel, if they even know where they are. All you know about them is that they're coming for you and will kill you. But somehow that is lost in what we've seen in the movie. The animatronics all look too alive. Remember, these animatronics aren't themselves. Freddy isn't Freddy. Bonnie isn't Bonnie. Chica isn't Chica, so on and so forth. Remember, these are vessels for the spirits of dead kids. In fact, I want to show you a video that gives a pretty clear picture of what I'm talking about. What I'm going to show you is a fan-made animation on how the FNAF animatronics move, and it's based solely on the descriptions given in the original novel trilogy. Look at them. Look how unnatural they look. The way their eyes don't move and don't blink. The way their arms are held stiffly at their sides. Look how strained and forced every single movement is. It doesn't feel like they should be moving, but they are. I love this animation because it shows how the animatronics aren't real characters in the games. They're just lifeless puppets being used as bodies by dead kids. Now think to yourself, isn't that way creepier than them being able to express themselves so freely? I thought so. You know, speaking of animatronics and Aftons and stuff, I want to give my take on the trailers themselves. I honestly think they show way too much. Like, it's obvious that the reveal of Springtrap being in the movie was going to be a surprise to the audience, you know, actually watching the movie. Before Afton was shown in his iconic fursuit, we had no real confirmation what the story was going to be before this movie. But now that we know Afton is in it, and is actively showing off his fursona to Mike, I think everybody in the community can already make a very reasonable assumption on how the movie's going to end. I mean, hey, MatPat already did, and he's usually right on the money when it comes to FNAF predictions and theories. Speaking of MatPat, I also really hope they don't try to bring Sister Location into this trilogy. I mean, sure, it would be cool to see the fun times in live action, but could you imagine being someone who knows nothing about FNAF, watching this movie, then watching the second movie where the somewhat grounded, scary story about ghosts haunting dusty old robots from the 80s suddenly jumps to high-tech animatronics that are designed to kidnap kids in their stomach and harvest their soul juice? That would just feel like way too big of a departure from the atmosphere of the first movie, and it would also be even harder to sell to the audience than the actual game it was based on. Remember, we all put off how high-tech the fun times were in Sister Location when it came out, because it's just a game that was very isolated from everything else. And it took 2 years and 5 games for the franchise to shift gears a little bit. But you can't really do that in a movie where you see the fun times interact with an actual world and actual people. It would just come off as campy and weird to the casual viewer who knows nothing of the franchise. You know, speaking of cheesy, campy, wacky, goofy horror, that brings me to what basically inspired me to make this video in the first place, and that would be the movie's tone. See, all of these things that I mentioned before, the eyes, the angry faces, the over-sanitization of FNAF as a whole, which I talked about in a previous video of mine, all leads to my greatest concern for this movie. That Five Nights at Freddy's isn't going to be a psychological horror like we all want. I'm worried that the FNAF movie is going to be a silly, wacky, over-the-top thriller movie like, I don't know, Willy's Wonderland. I mean, it kinda makes sense for all the weird decisions that have been made with this movie. Having the eyes be red, having this one shot of frickin' Carl the Cupcake eating some guy's face, Corey X. Kenshin's funny little scene, the shot of Foxy running down the hall. Well, I say running, more like gliding, because it's ridiculously obvious that the animatronic is being rolled down a track or something. Also, by the way, sorry for the bad video quality. This is taken from the TV spot, and it's just very bad quality. Anyway, he isn't bobbing up and down like anything with legs does while running. It's just so corny looking that it feels like it was done on purpose. There's also another shot of Foxy's endo foot hitting the ground in what's supposed to be a scary, anxiety-inducing shot, but you can see from the way most of the foot doesn't even touch the ground that it's just a plastic prop that isn't actually supporting anything above. And it doesn't even look like metal. Again, it looks so fake that it looks like it was intentional to make it look fake. And that's really bad if that's what this movie turns out to be, a horror parody of itself. FNAF isn't supposed to be cheesy, campy horror. It's supposed to be a dark, gritty, and semi-realistic story about child killings. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here. I just want this movie to be good, okay? And it annoys me when I bring up these problems I have up with my friends. They just say, be thankful we're getting a movie at all. Are you really that desperate for a movie to come out that you don't care about the quality at all? You just want it to exist so you can say, it's finally here? I was 7 years old when FNAF 1 came out, which means I've literally been waiting for this thing to come out for about 60% of my life. I am a veteran. I know what I'm talking about. I and all of the FNAF community want this movie to be good. We've been waiting every night to finally roam and invite our friends to a gritty, dark, faithful adaptation of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie for 9 years. And it's really disheartening when right off the bat, there are things that people don't like. And again, it's not like we don't like the Red Eyes just because it isn't faithful to FNAF. It is partially that, but it's more us being annoyed at what this change could imply for the tone of the movie. And listen, I'll have you know I'm happy that this movie is rated PG-13. A lot of people were butthurt it wasn't rated R, but I mean, if you rated it R, then 70% of the fan base couldn't even watch this movie. And hey, restrictions lead to creativity. For the inevitable Springlock scene, I think it would be best to just hear Afton's screams and hear the Springlocks tearing him apart, and maybe see some blood flow onto the floor rather than actually, like, seeing it all happen, like, close-up, zoomed-in shots. And hey, I mean, do you really want to watch a man's eyeballs being torn from its sockets while his head is imploding while you're downing a mega bucket of popcorn and soda? No, I don't think so. So, will Five Nights at Freddy's movie fail? No, definitely not. It'll probably be one of the year's highest grossing movies considering how popular the franchise is. But will the movie fail with its target audience's expectations? Will it fail at handling the tone and atmosphere of the source material? It's hard to say. But unfortunately, I can't really trust any FNAF project's quality anymore, even if it looks really good. People are saying, well, Scott is in full control, and he knows what's best for the franchise. You know what else Scott thought was best for the franchise? No matter what, I'll enjoy this movie. It'll be great to see it with friends finally, and it'll be great to finally live in a world where you can buy the FNAF movie Blu-ray at Walmart. I'm just afraid that this movie won't meet the expectations set up by 9 years of games. Are my standards high? Yes. Should they be? Yeah. Scott Cawthon and the incredibly competent team at Blumhouse are creating one of the biggest video game adaptations ever, and it needs to rise above the sludge that was Security Breach, especially because this is a way more experienced company that's making the project. Again, we've been waiting 9 years for this, so please, Scott & Co., please just make a good, scary movie that fans, old and new, will love and enjoy. We believe in you. We love you. And that's all I got for today's video. Thanks for watching. Godspeed.